Hi, everyone. Lisa here with Lisa Swan Creating Balance, and I'm here with Russ Scullen.
Hi, everyone.
So, Russ is my husband, spousal equivalent partner, however you wish to address it. And today we're going to talk about working together with your partner during an energy healing session.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Some of the challenges and benefits of doing this.
What we're going to talk about first is just sort of the challenges and benefits of working with your partner during a healing session. And one of the benefits, of course, is because we hang out together quite a lot. We don't necessarily have to tag into each other's energy. We know the subtleties of each other's energy and that type of thing.
One of the challenges you may face working with your partner, your spousal equivalent, your husband, your wife, however, whatever you wish to call this person, is when you are in the midst of a session and doing an energy healing and you see that your partner is being triggered by something, is focusing on the client and doing that as opposed to trying to heal your partner during the session. That can happen after.
Yeah, that can happen after. And really, honestly, this sort of will apply to anytime you're working with a partner, whether that be your wife, spousal equivalent, however you want to word the other person is at that time, or a friend, or your business partner, or however you're working with in partnership in your healing practice. It's just really honestly, it's allowing them to make the decision if they're being triggered by something, allowing them to make the decision whether they can still continue or step out of the energy and then regroup themselves, ground again, and then come back in.
And one of the benefits of working with your partner, your life partner, no judgment. If that person needs to step out of the energy to address their own energy, then by all means, do so. And one of the things that we both teach in our teaching practice is it is okay to step out of the energy. It is for your benefit to step out of the energy if you require to do so. No judgment. We all have triggers, and there are times we don't know why or for what reason they trigger us in that moment. It's having the confidence and the trust that
Mhm.
if you step out of the energy, everything will be fine. And when you're ready, you step back in.
Yeah. One of the other benefits of having a healing session or doing a healing session with your partner is the fact that you don't need to ask or tell consistently what the other person you would like the other person to do, or what you're doing for during the session. A lot of times when Lisa and I are working on sessions or on a client, I'm still amazed at how we work together without even saying anything. And there's a lot of times during when we're closing the session, I will physically, like I will close my eyes and and feel the energy from her as she's doing the closing part of the session too. What I find really interesting is that our movements mirror each other during that time. So that's, to me, that's just very cool. I think it's a real huge benefit when you're working with a partner that you get that opportunity to um, be very coordinated, and the energy between the two of you flows so easily. It's true.
True story.
True story.
So, we're going to talk about a few things about an energy healing session and working with your partner. And One of the important things to keep in mind is having a discussion before the session. Sitting down together, having an open discussion, talk about who will be primarily leading the session, and that's to start. How are you feeling? How are each other feeling? What's your mood? Are you feeling a little depleted? Are you feeling good? Talk about those kinds of things.
Sorry, excuse me. And this really, what you're doing is you're letting your partner know where your energy level is. You know, when you're talking about this and discussing how each other is feeling and that type of thing. Because once you get into the session, that discussion can't happen.
The other good thing to discuss before is, have you actually received any messages prior to the session? Maybe from the client's team, their guides, their ascended masters, maybe from your own. Also, is there anything that each other needs to be aware of for the session? Is there a trigger, a potential trigger that may be there? Or do you feel that the other person, your partner, may need a bit of a boost before? Maybe you need to pull some cards.
Yeah. The listening to your client's team, energy team, or your own guides and that type of thing is really important when a client is on their way, or because as we know, you can get those messages. And it's really important to say something to your partner, because they may need to be aware of what's going on, because they're not receiving the same message or not getting a message at all. Example, Joe is feeling his energy today is feeling really, really chaotic. We may need to smooth it out first before we go on to any other issues. Okay. I had my piece.
Awesome. So yes, having that discussion prior to the client arriving is important. It's important. It's part of the energy connection between you and your partner as well. And that would be inclusive of any partner that you have. However, your energy connection with your life partner has already started. So after you have your discussion, it's a good idea to work together to prep the space. So if you have a dedicated healing space in your home, going in together, lighting the candles, turning on the salt lamps, deciding on music, instruments, clearing the space.
It's like you say, just making the space ready for your client to come in. It's really what's going on. And it is important to work together. And silly me, right? We were talking about this earlier today, because we talk about what we're going to talk about during the session. And Lisa, and when she said, so what about working together to before the client comes in? And I'm thinking, well, clear the space, get the bed ready and that type of thing. And I said, but sometimes we don't. But she pointed out, but you come in, you light the candle, you turn on the salt lamp, you make sure the bed's ready, that type of things. And like I said, silly me, I didn't even think about that being part of the prep. That's just something natural that you just do. So yeah, okay.
So yes, preparing the space together, and that could include picking crystals.
Yes, absolutely.
Setting your intention as well. What is your intention for this day, for this session, for this person? So
yeah,
it's important that you spend that time together, because that really helps in your energy connection. And if you're new working together with your partner, this is a great way to get to know each other's energy. So during a discussion, a pre-discussion, preparing the space, because all of this is intermingling your energies together. And the next thing you do is you connect in your energies. If you have worked together as much as Russ and I do, we don't always do this step, mainly because we've already started connecting in with the discussion, then through the preparation of the space. But the reason that you should connect your energies together is so that you know whose is whose and what's going on. In addition to that, you would like to, it's a good to have an understanding of what your partner's energy is like and the client, because when the client's energy comes in, you need to be able to discern between your energy, your partner's energy, and then of course your client's energy.
Yeah, definitely. It's just very important to recognize the types of energy that are happening during the session. And the other type of energy that sometimes we don't talk about also is from our guides, dragons, your partner's team, energy team, or the client's energy team. You know, all those little things make that difference. And you need to, if you're going to have a really good session, you should be able to identify those energies. It's just super important because it will help you identifying those energies in the long run when you're helping clients in the session.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The other thing of it is when you do know and can recognize your partner's energy, differentiating between theirs, yours, and your clients. If you feel a twinge from an energy and you know that it's your partner, and if your partner hasn't gotten the message, because sometimes they don't, and you feel that it may be beneficial for them to take a quick step out and do a clear and then come back in, this is where the trust comes in. And
it does.
Feel confident that you can indicate or go up and speak softly to your partner and say, I think it's a good idea if you stepped out and cleared. And again, no judgment. You're not doing this to make them feel as if they're not capable of performing this healing. Sometimes we need to do a clearing. Sometimes we've taken something of the client's on that it needs to be cleared from ourselves. And it's recognizing it in ourselves, recognizing it in our partners, and being okay to have somebody come and say, hey, I think you should step out for a moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Not taking it personally. We're there for the greater good of the client.
Absolutely. Yeah. It is really important to remember that the client is the one who is at that point in time and during that time period that they're on the having their session, that they are the number one person that you're taking care of.
They're your primary focus.
Yeah, definitely.
And to distribute your focus between your client and your partner is really not being honoring the practice that you have. So being sure and clear with each other that this isn't about ego.
Yeah.
This is about creating the experience for the client that they will benefit from the most.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So connecting in your energies is important. And once you have worked together for a long time, this will be a step that will come naturally. There won't be the necessity to actually put your hands together.
Yep.
And
like this.
Connect in your energy like this, like
Yeah.
you would do, so that you can recognize each other's energy.
Yeah, as Lisa mentioned, that's one of the things that happens with us now when we're setting up the room for the session is and the pre-session discussion. Is our energies do start to connect in for that particular client. So.
Mm-hmm. And so when we have done this, we've done our preparation, we've had our discussion, we've connected in our energies, the client gets there. And you are still working together, helping the client onto the table, getting them settled, however it is comfortable for them. And then you proceed by starting your session, saying an invocation, setting the tone, being very intentional in what the session will be, having that discussion with your client. If they have any concerns, if there's anything in particular that they want you to be aware of or that they've been feeling, it's very important to have this type of discussion with your client as well, because now this begins to get your client's energy connecting into a space where you can begin to start your practice.
Yeah, definitely. And the one of the good things about this also is that you will more than likely have one person who's getting the client comfortable and that type of thing. The other practitioner can then start looking at possibly what else is going on with the client. That will help during the session.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So this is where your trust comes in again, is when you begin your session and you say your invocation and you begin to work in the energy, there are certain things that we are very conscious of in what we say or don't say. When you have a client on the table, and if you feel a bit of a blip or a little bit of an energetic disruption, there's a few things that you may want to stay away from saying. Oh shit is a good one to stay away from.
The other one is WTF.
That's another good one to stay away from. What you want to do is you want to address the energy as we are going to clear this or smooth this energy, align the energy. And knowing that with your partner, you can be saying that. And honestly, with Russ and I will say something like that and he'll pick up on it and he will do what he's been told by his team in order to help smooth that process.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is where it's a really important that you understand whose energy is whose.
Yes. Very much so.
If there's anything else?
Nope, I got nothing else to say on that one.
So once the session is finished and your client has sat up, concluding discussion, make sure that you're both invested in listening to what your client has to say.
Yeah, it is really important to discuss with the client how they felt during the session, if they had, if they saw anything, they felt anything, how they feel at that point in time, that type of thing. And then it's also if you received any messages or your partner received any messages, to relay those to the client. One of the things that you try to also watch for is to make sure that the client has come back to earth, right? That they've grounded themselves, they're regrounded, and they are actually ready to go. That they have. I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say that they're ready. They're ready to leave. It's one of the things that we make sure that even if it's up to a half hour after the client has had a session, we make sure that they are definitely okay to drive, walk, whatever, how far away they live or whatever, to leave, because it's really super important.
The other thing that we discuss with the client at all stages is they are they're invested in their own progression, their own healing journey. And if they want to talk during the session, as opposed to having a big discussion after, we welcome that. If they want to say something during the session, please do. We will discuss it afterwards as well. It's important that the client feels as if they are taking a proactive part in their own session.
Yeah. And it's also, and it's interesting because if you allow your client to discuss or talk while they're in their session, it just makes them more comfortable. And in the long run, it will help them, as Lisa says, with their session.
Mm-hmm. You always want to be proactive in your own healing. And some people prefer to do an entire session in silence, and some people like to invest in a conversation. And either way is acceptable. Absolutely 100%. So once you have had this discussion, also remember that when you have these discussions with your client, listen to them, actively listen. So don't just listen with your ears, listen with your eyes, okay? Listen with how the energy feels. Listen to, maybe it's a taste you get in your mouth, or a scent, but listen actively with your entire being as the client is talking. It's important because you can get many different cues as to their journey during this session by really actively listening.
Yeah, very important to do that. And it's interesting that that is a practice that you have to sort of learn to mentally make sure that you are listening completely, because it is very interesting what you can miss if you're not doing that, as somebody has pointed out to me in the past. But it was a learning session. I learned from it.
So once you have determined that your client is fully grounded and able to drive or walk out of your house, and that is so important, it's irresponsible to send somebody out of your healing session and they're not grounded and they're still up in the air somewhere, or they haven't found that place to where they can regain a focus of the physical, as it were. It's irresponsible to send somebody out of your healing space that isn't fully grounded and ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely.
So ensure that they are grounded. And one of the things that will help ground people, if they can have it, is chocolate. So if you have a healing practice, I would advise you keep little squares of wrapped chocolate in your home or in your space so that you can provide this for your client, because it will help them ground quicker.
Yeah. Any of the students, talk to any of our students, any of the practitioners that we help or work with and that type of thing, they all know that we have chocolate, and it's one of those things that we just have because we know it helps.
Mm-hmm. So now your client is gone, and now it is time for your own debrief. Again, when you work together and you live together as life partners, the pre-meeting and the post-meeting are usually fairly quick, because most of the stuff you have already dealt with energetically throughout the session. However, it is still a good idea to have a debrief after the client has left. That's checking in with each other. How are you doing? Was there anything that you experienced of your own that we need to address, that you want to talk about, that we need to talk about?
Yeah. Is there things that you picked up from the client that you didn't talk to the client about because of certain reasons? And are there things that you noticed your partner may have missed that you noticed, and they may have missed it because they were involved in doing something else, or they just may have missed it completely because they weren't either listening or watching or something like that? It's a growing session. It's a learning session for the both of you. it is just really important to have that debrief, because you will learn from each other. And again, this is just a deepening of your energies to each other.
And typically we will have our debrief discussion while we're clearing the space. So after a client leaves your healing space, you should clear it. Clear it before and clear it after. So when we're doing the clearing of the space, and that could be taking the sheets and blankets off the table,
using sprays,
burning sage, whatever that may look like, we tend to have our discussion, a little bit of our discussion there. And sometimes that part of the discussion will happen that needs to be cleared out with.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that's all done and the space is put back in order, then we'll go have our concluding debrief. And that's the energy that is ours. That's for us to talk about and deal with.
Yeah.
And also, if the client has chosen to book another time, this can be a good time for you to write down what it is that you have determined may need to be looked at next time.
Yes, very true.
Yeah, so working together, honestly, can be brilliant, and it can also be challenging. Sometimes we expect more of another person when you are a life partner, and it's being very clear with yourself. There is no expectation. When you go into a session and work together, the session will be what it will be, and that's all it will be.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. There are challenges. But to be honest, and I'm going to say it is with us, there are the benefits outweigh the challenges so much, because we do learn from each other. We've accepted the fact that that our energies are different, completely different in a lot of ways, but we do learn from each other, and in learning from each other, it's a growth process. The other benefit is that it's very cool when you're in a session with your partner and things are just, flowing so smoothly. And I want to say rocking, just, like it's just going so nicely and that type of thing. And even if it is a really heavy duty session, it can still flow. It can still be so cool because your energies are melding, you're helping the client and that type of thing. That's really, honestly, for me, that is one of the best benefits of working with Lisa.
I think one of the other benefits that we gain working with our partners is we can tell very quickly when one of us is using our own energy instead of channeling the energy to use in a healing session. And then we can rectify that quite quickly with the other person.
Yeah, because that would be part of your debrief, and because you're going to say to your client or to your partner, okay, how are you really feeling? And they're saying, well, I feel a little draggy after that. And then you say, were you using your energy or just using the universal energy? And then again, they have to sit and recognize which one they were using.
Mm-hmm. And that comes with practice. And it always comes with practice. And allowing each other to learn and grow through a session is the greatest gift you can give each other.
It is very true.
Yeah. So there we have it. Working together with your spousal equivalent, life partner, whatever, in a healing session. I enjoy it. I think it's brilliant when we work together. There's so much that we have to give and learn.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I recommend it 100%. If you have a life partner that's grooving on this kind of stuff, then hook them up.
Yeah. And even if they're just starting their
Journey.
their spiritual journey, drag them into a session, have them help. It's really, honestly, okay, it will help them in the long run. It really, really does. And it will help both of you, actually, in the long run.
It also helps your partner overcome some of their fear of not being good enough or experienced enough.
Yeah, or experienced enough is really the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So working together in a spiritual practice is empowering for both of you.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely.
Well, that's it for us today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. We do appreciate you guys tuning in, that type of thing. And guess what? We'll see you next Wednesday.
Absolutely. Stay curious.
Bye.